And we're back for another episode of Michigan Wolverines live on an extremely rainy Florida late afternoon here. My name's John Diadamo. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. And we do remind everybody, as always, as you come in, as you say hi to each other, we do ask that you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. Tell a friend. Let people know that we're live, that we're on air. Tweet about it, post about it, because that's what's going to bring in the people. That's what's going to continue allowing us to do what we do. A heads up already in advance that I'm running the show solo today, and because of the storms, might lose power. So we're all kind of crossing our fingers here. Alrighty. Thank you all so much for the comments. I appreciate that. And what I am going to do at the end of the show, if we have time, might take a call or two. So I'm going to post the link to the StreamYard. It's also in the description. So we'll see how we're doing. But what we're going to do now is start with this. The late, great John Madden has said, I'm a big line guy. Offensive, defensive, it doesn't matter. Football is won or lost in line play. And because of that, John Madden texted Jim Harbaugh right after the Ohio State game in 2021, and he said that was some of the best offensive line play I've ever seen in a game of football. And that was pretty high praise. And for a third year in a row, Michigan is going to have one of the best offensive lines in the country. Pro Football Focus just came out and ranked Michigan #1 offensive line in the entire country for 2023. And you can see why. Returning starters include Zach Zenner, Trevor Keegan, and Carson Barnhart, all three Joe Moore Award winners. They will push around most defenses that they play against until the very end of their season. But we have some new starters. Center Drake Nugent, one of the best centers in college football. It seems like they did it again. Sharon Moore went out. And just like with Olu last year, found himself a diamond in the rough and another excellent starter in Drake Nugent. And of course, Arizona State transfer Ladarius Henderson rounding things out. It's a formidable unit and one that is going to win a whole lot of football games. For those of you who are wondering, the other 5 schools in Pro Football Focus's top 5, Georgia, of course, Oregon State. I don't know if Connor's here. Oregon State is in the top 5. Of course, Alabama, no surprise there. And then USC has one of the top 5 offensive lines in the entire country. So it's very interesting. So Dallas Schwartz made a comment. Congrats on the back-to-back Big Ten titles. Thank you. Win it again this year, because in 24, the USC Trojans are coming to wreak havoc and bring the pain, much as we did during the Pete Carroll years. Is Tim paying you to come in here and comment? Are you on the Prangley Productions payroll? I think the USC is going to be very good in 2024. I agree with you. This is a reminder to get yourself your Voice of College Football keychains and coasters. Promo code football. So get yourself. We currently are offering free keychains. So check it out. Obviously, we've got all kinds of merchandise for not just the Voice of College Football, but also the Michigan channel. So you've got some different options to represent Michigan football at the Voice of College Football. What are you waiting for? Get yourself some Voice of College Football merchandise. Okay. Jordan Shipp has committed to UNC. What is going on with the wide receivers? So, I've thought about this a lot, and obviously, Michigan was very fortunate to get Channing Goodwin, four-star wide receiver, Providence Day. Jaden Davis probably had a thing or two to do about that, but we know that wide receiver talent is going to go to places where they're highlighted. And the truth of the matter is, Michigan was very heavy on the run last year. We know this. They've been heavy on the run the last 2 years, really. So it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for Ron Bellamy and Jim Harbaugh and Sharon Moore to recruit top tier wide receiver talent. So what do we need to do to fix it? If Jim Harbaugh sticks to his word and he does improve the offense ratio from 60-40 to 50-50, he was on record as saying that that was possible. If he does that, I think that we'll start to see more 4- and 5-star talent considering Michigan. I appreciate that, Frank. We're going to get there. So thank you for your comment. Yes, I think Johnson needs to go off for 1,000 yards, or Roman Wilson, one or the other, for 1,000 yards plus this year. And then they can point to that player in the recruiting. They can point to a 5-star wide receiver, a 4-star wide receiver, and they can say, look at this player. Here's what they did. You can do the same thing. Come to Michigan and be a champion. Also, winning a title might help, and we'll talk about the path to do that in a little bit. Thanks, Casey Mallory, for coming. I'm running the show solo today during the middle of a massive Florida storm, so the power went out. It may go out again, and if it does, I'll switch to my cell phone. I've got the link, and I'll call in, and it'll be great. Frank is an Ohio State fan. Well, where's the the? You are the Ohio State fan for 52 years, and yet you're saying it's Georgia and Michigan in the finale. When Ohio State fans are predicting the team up north to be in the finals, that's a bit troubling. And yes, Jason's right. If Michigan lands Bryce Underwood, that will open up the floodgates, and it's a very good chance. It seems like Michigan and also Michigan State are the top two right now. I don't know why on earth he would go to Michigan State. I don't know. All right. Join our Patreon Discord, talk Wolverines all the time. Go to patreon.com/MarkRogersTV or become a YouTube member. We do have some good news. Jacob Smith is joining his brother. He is committed to Michigan from Connecticut. We talked all about him last week. Go back to last week's show where we had Dennis Fithian from Maize and Blue Review on the show, and we actually did film study on air, and we went over Jacob Smith and his impact potentially on Michigan. So Dennis Fithian last week, we thank him for coming by the show. But make no mistake, this is an extremely good recruiting class. Michigan is not an Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State where they're in the top 5 every year. There's a case to be made that Michigan should be in that category, but you've got to win some postseason games, I think, to get there consistently. But number 4 in the country is still pretty good, and Michigan isn't done. So I think it's probably going to wind up being top 6 or 7 when it's all said and done, at least top 10 at bare minimum. And that's an extremely good recruiting class for Michigan. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2024 and 2025. And guess what? Harbaugh and company are rolling out the welcome wagon for the 2025 class as well. 5-star offensive lineman David Sanders is planning to make the annual barbecue at the Big House trip. And he's not the only one. We actually have seen, we know that Achilles Smith Jr. is going, 4-star passer, 93rd best player and 7th best quarterback in the class. Rowan Byrne, offensive tackle, 6'6", 290 pounds. And Elijah Dodson, 3-star. All 3 of them, and he's a local kid, all 3 of them we already knew were coming to barbecue at the Big House. And now, added on to all of that, David Sanders. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. Where are they? Well, you can make an argument for a few different things, right? Um, I think that one is that they just now, I think, have the right staff in place. Um, we all know that Matt Weiss wasn't the best recruiter. The Davis family even said so. Now Kirk Campbell is in place, and he is doing a phenomenal job from all recruits. Chris Partridge just joined the staff. And remember, Chris Partridge was originally brought on as defense staff. They didn't even give him a title yet because basically they wanted him to come on and start recruiting top talent. They have the pieces in the coaching staff now to recruit top talent. The results need to be there too. We know that Harbaugh has hit a ceiling so far. Can he smash that ceiling? That's what we're going to find out. Yeah, Seawood, DB coach. I mean, we have star power. We have star power. And obviously, Jim Harbaugh himself is star power, right? So I think that that's part of it. We also, I believe, one of our former quarterbacks is on staff. Is it Denard? I think it might be Denard, or it's not Denard. It's Devin Gardner. But one of them I know is on the staff. So star power, Mike Hart. Let's get Charles Woodson. Why not? He's always very passionate about Michigan on Twitter. Denard Robinson. That's who I knew was one of those two. Denard Robinson on staff. So because of that, you have the star power there. You've got Jim Harbaugh. He's got his own orbit. He does commercials. He's up there with Nick Saban in terms of notoriety. I'm not SEC fans, please don't misunderstand what I just said. I'm not saying he's up there in terms of wins, but in terms of notoriety, most people know who Jim Harbaugh is. He was a very famous coach at the NFL level as well, and did it at the highest levels. Yeah, I think you're right, Sarah. I think it's Denard. Yeah. All right. When you're doing your shopping on Amazon, as many of us do from time to time, click the Voice of College Football link. Literally just takes 2 seconds to do that. So, our main topic that we come to. Paul Finebaum, not a friend of the show. To be clear, normally we call people friends of the program. Paul Finebaum, not a friend of the program. Ohio State, not Michigan, can compete with Georgia in 2023. Paul Finebaum's takes are entirely predicated on the year before. If you've watched his takes, it's all lazy takes about the year before. He's always big on Alabama because of what they did the year before, the 2 years before that. And so he watches the playoff game. He doesn't like Jim Harbaugh. We know he doesn't like Jim Harbaugh. And he takes any opportunity to rag on Jim Harbaugh. And so he says Ohio State can compete with Georgia in 2023. Now, I'm not arguing that Ohio State doesn't have top-tier wide receiver talent, but they have a massive quarterback question, they have a massive O-line question, and they have a massive secondary question, and that's not even talking about the organization of the running backs and how they're going to do that. So basically what we're going to do is just go through the path to winning the national championship. The path to winning the national championship is as follows. We actually did a whole thing on Monday's show, and we talked about with Lexi, Go Blue Lexi, predictions for the regular season. We both predicted 12-0, and we really only see 2 games that are difficult, right? One game being Penn State, one game being Ohio State. There's a few trap game potentials. We know this. We know that Nebraska could be a problem and some others. But unfortunately, for them, That's really pretty much it. I mean, I think that 12-0 is extremely possible and likely. So then you get to the Big Ten championship. Big Ten championship, maybe Iowa, maybe Wisconsin. Those are the top two in the running right now. While some Iowa fans think Cade can beat JJ, or Cade's team can beat JJ's team, I don't really see it. So I think that you'll be heading 13-0 and an obvious playoff berth alongside Georgia, who also has a similar easy path to getting to 13-0, or at least 12-1. Maybe they face Alabama in the SEC championship or somebody who gives them a really hard time. So we also have to remember one thing. Blake Corum came back for a reason. He has said, if we don't win the national championship, it is not a successful season in my eyes. So because of that, I think that you just have to take that into consideration. He could have gone to the NFL, gone second or third round, and he decided not to. Right? He decided to come back to the University of Michigan. And so you add that along with the O-line conversation that we had in the beginning, along with everything else, the defense that's coming back, 81% returning production. They need to win a playoff game, but they're doing drills every week called Beat Georgia drills. Those aren't really just Beat Georgia. They're beat insert postseason team here. And Ohio State fans who want to rag on that, guess what? You guys did the same thing. That's right. Ohio State, for years under Urban Meyer, looked at Alabama as the gold standard and practiced with an eye towards being as good as Alabama and beating Alabama in the playoffs. There was also, throughout the whole season, drills on beating Clemson because they thought that they'd face Clemson. So Michigan is not the only team to do this, to be very clear. Just in case my power goes out, I'm allowing myself in. So the bottom line is here, Michigan has all the tools that they need to get this done. Jim Harbaugh has to put together a top-tier game plan. And I'm sorry, but Georgia's probably going to be the final boss. So with all that said, I think Michigan is very likely, and we even had an Ohio State fan earlier say, I think it's going to be Michigan and Georgia in the final. Thanks, Stu Bedazzle. We appreciate that. That is exactly what it is, you idiot. Like, that is exactly what it is. And if you haven't been paying attention, and you haven't been, and I never say that on air, and everybody here knows that. Okay? It's not just beat Georgia. It's beat any postseason team. It's beat USC. It's beat if TCU comes back. It's beat, I don't know, Alabama. It's beat anybody. That's what the drills are. They're looking at the SEC teams. I know it's literally the name. It's called marketing. It's called motivating your team. Have you ever motivated anybody in your life? Okay, that's what it is. It's called motivation. We know that Georgia is probably going to be in the playoff and is probably going to be in the final two. So they are likely to be the postseason team. Steven, Ohio State has no defense or QB. I wouldn't go that far. Their defensive line is very good. JTT is very good. And if they pick Devin Brown, that could be a real issue. He is a dual threat. I just got done playing John Plays the Season with the Ohio State game. And I hate to say it, but everyone in this room is going to hate me when they watch this game for different reasons. And that's all I'm going to say on the topic. That's all I'm going to say on it. That's multiple weeks away. Tomorrow night is going to be John Plays Nebraska. So Michigan versus Nebraska on NCAA 14. But I can tell you now, it's going to be very interesting when you see the Ohio State game. Is Aaron Scott trolling? So Aaron Scott, in recent days, has said all the commits have been hitting me up, texting me, sending me the M emoji, or just saying villain. I love it. I'm changing the narrative. Folks, he's going to Ohio State. Why is he doing this? My only thought is that he's trolling. Or there actually is like a 5% chance that he goes to Michigan. But the way that I see it, he's changing no narrative. If he goes to a school, it's 45 minutes away from him. I really don't know what's going on here. Does anybody have a take on this that isn't just Aaron Scott's trolling everybody? Charles Blake, thank you for being on here. This is a guy been supporting his sobriety journey. Thank you for being back and for being part of the show today and also the other day. JJ is absolutely the best we got. Are you kidding me? Like, JJ is the guy. And even in the TCU game, yes, he threw 2 picks, but he's also the reason that Michigan was still in the game. Cade McNamara would have been a 30-point deficit. JJ had things to the point where with 2 minutes left, he could have still gotten them the win. Didn't get there, but at the very least, this is a quarterback who can make comebacks happen, who can do these things. Charles, I don't want to risk it because we're having storms. I was going to do calls potentially, but we're having some really bad storms right now in Florida. So I don't want to risk being on air and then we have to cut it off, or you're just on by yourself or whatever. But just a reminder that tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern is John Plays the Season, Michigan at Nebraska. It's where I play NCAA Football 14 with the new rosters. The Rutgers video is already out. Also, don't forget that Mondays at 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern is Big Ten Live. We just had Go Blue Lexi on Monday. So we're bringing on guests. Mark also had a media caller on his segment as well. So we're trying to bring on more guests next week. Look out for another guest co-host on this show, potentially. We'll be potentially bringing somebody else on. Let's look at some comments here. Oh boy, we have a lot of interesting discussion. Yeah. Scott is maybe 98-2. I'll give it one more in favor of Michigan, 98-2. Dennis Fithian said what, 90 Ohio State, or was it 80 Ohio State, 11 Oregon, and 9 Michigan? It's not going to be Michigan, people. It's not. Like, let's just all come to terms with that. Michigan has the number 4 recruiting class in the country. We're going to be fine. Yeah, Charles, the storms are really bad, dude. You're probably gonna be on air by yourself if I let you on. But if you want to try, the link is in the description. You can try calling in. Okay, we've got all the Buckeyes in here today. Darren Graham, if you lose a single damn game with this roster, I am judging you for life. Well, Darren, I'm gonna tell you something. For the easier games, the games that I think aren't going to be as hard, like Rutgers, I'm playing them on essentially level 2 difficulty. For Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State, I bump it up to like level 3 as in all American difficulty. And that does create some challenges sometimes. I'm not going to spoil anything other than you're going to see maybe some close games, and not everything's going to be like a giant blowout. But they're entertaining games, I've got to say. I enjoyed doing them. I enjoyed doing the series. And if you guys want to let me know who I should play next, should I play Iowa just for fun? Should I play different teams and maybe play as a different football team? You guys let me know, because really it's about the community here. That's what it's about. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe. If you're not yet subscribed to the Voice of College Football, and especially the Michigan channel, remember, we are 1,000 subscribers behind Ohio State. That's just not okay. Hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. I am not. So, in order to do that, I would have to do a lot of things that I'm not going to do for the purposes of this situation. So, I would have to mod my Xbox 360, and I looked into doing it. And I just decided, no, that's not going to happen for this. Maybe next year when we have the new college football game. I'm assuming you're talking about that. Maybe you're talking about a different video game. But I'm playing NCAA 14 on the 360. I appreciate that, Ed. We even have the Bucknut subscribers. It's very cool. Drew Smith. Oh, geez. No, we're not. No, we're not doing that, guys. We're not doing that. Any comments about that are going to get immediately deleted. And in fact, I'm going to. Yeah, we're not going to be doing that. Sorry. And no, I'm going to. Nope. Okay. We only have a couple of minutes left. And obviously with all of the storm situation, things may shut down on me again. I have my cell phone a second time just in case, but I don't know if that's going to work or not. So I don't want to do that. But what I'll do is when we push this show out, I will try to edit it to try to remove the parts where we had dead air. I'm going to ask Mark if we can do that. Let's see. How come I'm in Florida? Well, it is also really hot, but no, right now we're just getting rammed by storms. LFG, thank you. I want to thank that comment. The 30th like on this video. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Michigan Football, the Voice of College Football. Yes, Ryan Day beat Michigan one time. That's right. You're very true. It's very true. His name was Justin Fields. Wasn't just any first-time starting quarterback. It was a guy named Justin Fields who played in the national championship game. He's now a starter in the NFL. Let's be a little bit less disingenuous on that. Okay. Kyle McCord is not Justin Fields. I don't think Devin Brown is Justin Fields either. Ohio State has been blessed by multiple top-level quarterbacks in a row. Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud are three of the best quarterbacks they've ever had in a row. They're due for one that isn't as great. It's just, it happens. Lord knows Michigan's had their share. Like, it happens. Sorry about that, Nick. JJ McCarthy, it's been a weird show. I think you've noticed. Thank you for your super chat. JJ McCarthy needs to super Saiyan to beat UGA. You are absolutely right, Nick. We did a whole show on this with Mark Rogers, voice of college football. Not a whole show, but a decent chunk of the show where we talked blue chip ratio. There's a video, a clip up as well, and that's exactly what is going to have to happen. The only path to winning a title in the modern era, if you don't have a blue chip ratio at the level of Georgia, is elite quarterback play. That's the truth. Auburn 2010, Florida State 2013, Clemson 2016. What do all three have in common? Lower blue chip ratios than Michigan has this year and elite quarterback play. That's the path. Which means Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, Darius Clemens, Carmelo English, they're all going to have to crush it. Also Colston Loveland and AJ Barner. AJ Barner in the video game playing has been a really key receiver. I'm trying not to spoil too much because you guys need to watch them. They're really fun. But AJ makes a couple of plays that were very important. I'm just going to say that. But yeah, everybody needs to be top tier. I think I'm going to be going to either the Rutgers game or one of the earlier ones. I went to one way too late in the year last time. I went to the Illinois game and then got hit by a blizzard. So not exactly the best. By the way, folks, unrelated to Michigan, Saquon Barkley might be sitting out the entire season for the NFL. So that's just side note. That might be happening because he needs to bump his contract up. Ed Rogers, you made the playoffs with the media. I'm assuming you're talking about Cade because JJ is not a mediocre quarterback, and Cade isn't a mediocre quarterback. He's just moderate. He's a game manager. Georgia is my pick to. Well, I mean if I had a gun to my head and I had to choose Georgia or another team, it would be Georgia. They just won the last two. Quarterback play looks like it's going to be the same or improved. Carson Beck looks extremely good. Stetson Bennett was extremely good, but Carson Beck is looking extremely good. They're going to have a great defense. They're the number 2 offensive line in the country, according to Pro Football Focus. I wouldn't be surprised, Casey, if that happens. But if Michigan doesn't get it this year, Michigan is it's going to be a little bit of a rough go for a couple of years. JJ may be going to the NFL. He might not. But if he goes, then you're looking at a freshman quarterback, Jaden Davis, or you're looking at a bridge quarterback for a year. So yeah, this is the year. This kind of has to be the year. At bare minimum, can Michigan just win a postseason game so that we can shut everybody up on that front? Because Michigan is capable of winning a postseason game. Okay. Came extremely close a few times. Dalvin Cook 2016 ran up against, the national championship Alabama team. Basically, it was the national champion roster. Let's win a postseason game, and I'm hoping it's a playoff game. I would like to win the national championship, but that is a tall order. It just is. But can they do it? Yes, they can. And can Michigan do it? Yes, he can. Yes, they can. Yeah, he's on the cusp, and he didn't remember. Everybody forgets. JJ McCarthy didn't have spring last year. He was splitting reps with Cade until after game number 2. Okay? Donovan Edwards' hand was injured half the freaking year. This is a different team. And so the expectations need to be different too. Casey, I will take you up on that. Let's hang out. Let's go. I'd love to see Kinnick hang out with you, hang out with Corey Bratta. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. There's a lot of there. Yeah, I mean the Buckeyes are really coming out today. We love it. We love the traffic. The traffic is great. What's the schedule for Michigan? It's pretty light. We're going to be playing the East Carolina Pirates, and by the way, I'm going to try to find one of the East Carolina writers to come on at some point. UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Indiana, Purdue, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, Maryland. Penn State, Ohio State, and Maryland seem to be the toughest. Oh, and Minnesota. So those games are going to be kind of tough. Minnesota seems like it could be a little bit of a tricky game. But Penn State and Ohio State seem to be the tough ones. And that's right. He was also hurt. Yeah. Let's go. Why don't we just make it a whole thing? We'll just all go to Kinnick. Let's make it happen next in 2024. Yeah. This is what they forget. Blake Corum, Michigan's best player on the entire football team, didn't play that game. Can you imagine what would have happened if Blake Corum had played? It was already 45-23. Imagine Blake Corum running up and down that field. You don't have to imagine too much because Hassan Haskins was running up and down that field the year before. Donovan Edwards was running up and down that field in Columbus in 2022. Imagine Blake Corum being added to that mix. Well, he's going to be next year because you think Harbaugh's going to be playing him a lot against East Carolina? No. Blake Corum's going to make an appearance in the first few games. That's it. He isn't. He is being saved for the big games. Do I know that for a fact? No. But based on everything I've seen, Donovan Edwards is plenty capable of being the main back against East Carolina. Ben Hall is plenty capable of being running back 2 against East Carolina. Cole Cabana, also really good. Khalil Mullings can be used as a 1 or 2 yard, just barrel it in guy. And if you need somebody, CJ Stokes can be a human being who runs for a couple yards. We are getting a lot of comments. I love it. Of course, it's when I'm struggle bussing it hard with weather. Edwards is going to be one of our main wide receivers. He might be the main wide there you go, Buckeyes, because I mean, think about it. It depends on how they use everybody. I mean, how do they use, well, like what plays do they call to highlight these players? If I had to put money on it, I'd say Cornelius Johnson's probably going to be our biggest impact player. And Roman Wilson is going to be up there too. So is Colston Loveland, by the way. Do not sleep on Colston Loveland. He is going to be used primarily as a receiving tight end because they have a guy named Bredesen who's going to be the blocking tight end. So they don't need Colston to block because they have Bredesen. So they can have Colston and they can have AJ Barner receive. Yeah, I like Wilson too. And by the way, he has a YouTube channel. I'm talking about his brother. The older Bredesen's gone. His brother's a tight end. So he's being used primarily as a blocking tight end. so that Colston Loveland, AJ Barner can probably block a decent amount too, but you don't want Colston Loveland doing a lot of blocking. You want him being a receiving tight end. Nick, you always have entertaining comments and super chats, but when you call in, you actually are probably one of the most insightful callers that we've had. And that's what's so great about it. Um, so I think it's great. You know what you should do? You should do that over on the Ohio State Buckeyes channel, just like all the Ohio State Buckeyes come over here. But yeah, with Blake Corum involved, with a healthy Donovan Edwards, with more of a passing emphasis than last year, look out. Yep, not a great record against MSU. I concede that. 2020 was a bad year for us. 2021, Mel Tucker lucks into a generational running back talent. He literally stumbled into him. I think you saw what the team is really going to be like in 2022, and now everybody's leaving the team. So good luck. So we've got 5 minutes left. I would love to continue talking, but I am concerned the power might go out again. So stay tuned for the must-see TV block to continue. So up next on the must-see TV Voice of College Football, Florida State Live in about 5 minutes with Mark Rogers and the gang. At 7 p.m. Eastern, it's Miami Hurricanes Live. And then, back by popular demand, Pac-12 Chat Show Live at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. I believe the Stanford Tree might be showing up again. And I'm assuming one topic might be, are they going to be on Ion Television? Are they going to be on Lifetime Television? Are they going to be on ESPN 8, the Ocho? Where is the Pac-12 going to be? Because there's still no media deal. So I'm going to be tuning in for that one just to see what they say about all that. See if we have any last comments. I do want to thank everybody for being on here. The Roku channel is also being discussed as a possibility. It looks like in chat. Drew, I can't do that because I'd get pulled down. The only highlights I can show are huddle tape. Anything else would get us shut down. So there you go. Nick at Night. See that might be the perfect option. You get Happy Days, and then Oregon versus Washington or something right after. It just leads right in. Mike, go blue. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with the weather issues alongside me. I know I got shut down a bit today, but we were able to get through it and push through it, and that's what you need to do, because, as we say, those who stay will be champions. And without further ado, I'm going to put the link here so everybody can go over to Florida State. I'm going to go work out and get off air before I get shut down by the weather again. So everybody can check this out here. That's Florida State Live. Go over there right now. At the very least, guys, just hit the like button over there. Get them revved up, and then go and do whatever you need to do. If you can show up, I'll be on the show. I'll be commenting in chat as a moderator and hanging out. So up north. So if you have an Xbox 360, and you want to play a team, let us know. MarkRogersTV@gmail.com, because we're doing fans playing college football games on air, and we're starting off with John Plays the Season, and tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern is the premiere of John Plays Nebraska. It's going to be a fun one. I promise you that. Without further ado, go over, say hi to Florida State, and until next time, as always, go blue.